We're live.
Nice.
We were just talking there before I pressed the record button. I was desperately worried we were going to waste all our material like we do every time you and I talk. So I thought we better press the record button before we go too far down any more conversations, really, because we've you and I are in the same region, Southwest, and it's been a busy old time, hasn't it? The last 10 weeks or so. We've been in constant Zoom meetings and WhatsApp group conversations and everything else, haven't we? But I know a lot of the other regions in the country are all the same. And, that's, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on now, really, was now that we're open and we've still got a lot of lessons to learn. But just a lot of the conversations we've sort of had in maybe groups of 10, 15 people, these episodes now, they're already in the hundreds that are listening or watching or combined or downloading and all those types of things. I just think it's some really interesting sort of ideas you've got, insights, and just your, what's the best way to put it? Your willingness to just say what you think, really. It's like a bit of breath of fresh air, because I've been known to be known for that myself, but it doesn't always get the most fruitful conversation, does it? So just for those who don't know and those who haven't read the bio, Scott, what's the job title at Mendip?
I'm general manager now.
General manager. Yeah, because I know they change these job titles, don't they?
Particularly I was director of golf, and now I'm general manager at Mendip Spring Golf and Country Club.
So what's the difference? Has there been a difference in the job, or did they just retitle it?
No, so to start with, I came in as the head professional, and then I moved over to the director of golf. So I looked after the golf course setup, came more into my role, and I liaised with the course manager on how we wanted the course to set up and play. So when I first came here, the fairways were very sort of straight lined, sort of 20 paces wide, and then I came in and I brought in sort of like landing zones, so made the fairways wider at certain points. Areas of rough that were being cut that were way out of play. So we set sort of. I wanted to bring in things like semi-rough and like a different way of cutting. So we wanted to cut sort of like diagonal stripes on the fairways. Mm-hmm. But I didn't just want to impose this on the greenkeeper. So we basically liaised together, and he told me this would take an amount of time to do. So what we looked to do then is not cut areas that were out of play to save the time. So we sort of worked our way around without stressing the greenkeeping team too much. So we worked as a team. And then that role moved on then I moved from the shop into the office. And then the clubhouse came under my jurisdiction and the hotel. So that's when, just before Christmas, we changed my role, really, from director of golf to general manager, because if I'm having conversations with hotel groups, they don't know what director of golf is. So,
no, that's the thing. It's a very, very golf industry job title at the moment, isn't it? Even though people doing the director of golf jobs are essentially doing the GM's job a lot of the time. Basically, it's sort of how the PJ sort of when they first PJ professionals started going into golf club management. That's what they called us, director of golf, because it's sort of a different avenue going from the PJ, whereas you're GCMA, so you're the Golf Managers Association, whereas I'm Professional Golf Association, so the titles were slightly different. But I think the two sort of governing bodies are moving a little bit closer together, if you see what I mean. Your sort of body and my body, and that's now I'm a member of both now. So because my role is different. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's a good thing, them moving together?
Yeah, I think they should move closer together. Yeah, I think that the opinion of PJ pros, they go through a lot of training and they're quite good in the game, establishing the game. They have a lot of the training and things. And I think the GCMA, just a different angle really, because when I've looked at it, and it's been, I was quite surprised actually, to be honest, because I always thought I was drilled like the PJ are the best governing body in the game, and they're recommended, they're respected worldwide, and it was really like a breath of fresh air, really, to come in and see what you guys were doing in the WhatsApp groups, and I don't know. I think the GCMA are much more localized as well, so we all got together and helped each other out with things, whereas the PGA sort of run it more on a national sort of level. They contacted every single member, But they're a big organisation, and sometimes you just need that little, to find out what the club down the road's doing. And I think that's where our GCMA sort of local group has been, a lot more vocal, and we've helped each other a lot more. I don't think people realise during this COVID-19 all the paperwork that gets involved. I know, obviously, care homes have been, they it's quite well publicised what they've had to do, but what we've had to do, the workload was massive, and also, we've had less staff in, so I think it's good that we've helped each other out. I know, say, Karen at Burnham, she helped us with a couple of policies, and then Ali at Camberwell helped us with some risk assessments, and I put my bit in, you put your bit in. I think that's worked. We've worked as a team, really.
Yeah, it almost has become a secondary staff team, hasn't it? Because I don't know the way you work, but the way I like to work, and I've certainly developed to work over the years, is that I like to deal with a line manager in each sort of area of the club, and work with them on their area, and not really get too involved in the detail of a lot of these things, and give them a bit of autonomy themselves within their own areas. And of course, all of a sudden, in my case, and I know in your case that some of them, they were gone overnight.
Yeah.
So most of my key team members were gone. So the GCMA Southwest became almost my new team, where the ideas were bounced, where you go to just sound off when you've had a bit of a day of it, because we've all had days like that over the last couple of months. So there's people that maybe if they'd been a half-day meeting or half-day meeting followed by golf or something, a lot of people who've been in these Zoom meetings and everything else that I probably never would have encountered, because they don't maybe put as much importance on it as I have over the years. But it's been brilliant to get to know people like yourself, like Ali. I've only met Ali a couple of times, even though I used to work down the road from him for 2 years. It has become a bit more than just a crutch, really, isn't it? And I found it really helpful, because I deal in a slightly different type of business to you. I've worked with a committee. It's been unbelievably good to be able to tell them, this is what X club is doing, this is what that club's doing, this is what they're doing. And as you get well-intentioned people on your committee maybe trying to reinvent the wheel, you can say, like you say, sharing documents there. No need to write this. Save yourself a couple of hours. Here's whatever golf club has done. Looks really good. We'll sort of we'll change that to fit our own club needs. I think it's been really good, and I hope that when we get back to some sort of normality, whatever that means, I hope that continues. It obviously won't be as frequent, but it's one of the things in the Southwest that maybe I think was always lacking from my experience of the Wales region, or certainly the south of Wales, where there's quite a close-knit group of managers there. What I see now in the Southwest is it's brought us all together as well, really, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, so no, I think it's been really positive. And I think
you got to give a shout out, really big shout out to Karen Drake, haven't we? Really,
massively.
Karen is the regional manager. She's been unbelievable, because obviously she's got all the same job worries and problems that we've got, but she's also coordinated us Rowley Mob in the middle of it all as well, and organised speakers to come on, and Zoom meetings to death and everything else. So big hats off to her.
I've known Karen a very long time, because I was at Western Golf Club when Karen first started, so I was the assistant in 1997. I think Karen came on board there around 99, 2000. So I worked with
was Karen's first golf job, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then she moved up. She was like the assistant, and then she moved into the secretary's role. But that sort of happened, and then a year later, I moved on up to the Players Club. But she's definitely moved on, progressed, and she's definitely helped us all doing this, sort of just really sort of being the vocal point, getting us all together. And then once we're together, we seem to work well with like-minded sort of ideas and sharing. I mean, I'm always one through, even with the shop, when I was just a golf pro. I always thought it was important with to liaise with other shops. I didn't see them. I do see some as competitors, but if a golf club was, if I needed a driver and a golf club had a shelf full of them, I would be quite, I would speak to them and I would share and swap and and I think that's been, that sort of spirit has come out through this sort of bad situation, really.
So you obviously started as a pro, and you're now in general manager's chair, and you've obviously seen a little bit through all of this, through mixing with us all about how maybe it's a little bit different in the members clubs as opposed to a resort like yourself. What's the reality of being a golf club manager compared to what you used to think of golf club managers and secretaries when you were working as a pro in a pro shop, then as a head pro? Because one thing, everyone thinks they can do our job, don't they? Everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
And lots of people in our industry get the chance to, because things happen in golf clubs and they maneuver themselves into positions to sit in the hot seat. And more often than not, it doesn't go terribly well for them because it's not maybe as easy as they thought.
I think you need a lot of experience. I thought I could have done this job when I was 25, I think, but I definitely couldn't have done it. I think you need a lot of training in different areas. So, as well as doing my golf side, I've gone and then I've spent time. I've been and worked with the green staff. I did work experience. I can cut greens, no fairway. So I've got not an understanding, but I know how difficult their job is. In my time, I've also owned a pub, so I have an idea of how a clubhouse runs, because that's very important, because that really can hold you back. No matter how much you know about golf, as a golf pro, I know about committees, and I've grown up with them, and I've grown up with learning what competitions to play, what works well on the golf side. But then you forget suddenly you're like a bar manager, you're a restaurant owner, you need to look at the menus, and you're appointing a person in a position to run that bar for you. But if you've got no experience, how can you lead a proper interview? So I didn't have that experience at 25, whereas now I have. The other thing I think is quite good at the minute is the fact I've worked at a private members golf club, which was Western. It was quite a strict golf club. We didn't let people, and I've had to go out and tell people to leave the course because they've got the wrong coloured socks on. And then I moved up to a proprietary club in Bristol, the Players Club, where you could wear jeans and trainers in the clubhouse, and it's tea times and that sort of thing. So I think moving into this role now, I think it's the right time, because just really because of experience. Even though when I was younger, I was probably a little bit arrogant and thought I could do any job. I think looking back now, I'm glad it's happened. I'm 38, 39 now, so I've moved into a different time of my life, and I can see things with experience, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't maybe say it's arrogance. I mean, it's something for those probably know me better. Probably already know I coach football for the last 15 years since finishing playing, and there's so many people over the years that, the manager's this, the manager's that. He's rubbish. I could do better. And because I've been in it long enough, I see some of these people become managers. And one of my sort of better mates that I've had through football was one of these, and he was a nightmare for all the managers he played for. And I'd do this, I'd do that. He lasted 4 months as a first team manager. Just couldn't hack it, really. Nothing to do with his knowledge of football, like pros with their knowledge of golf and that sort of thing. I think it's just people's age, and I think it's a natural thing that when you're the manager, everyone thinks they could do your job. Everyone thinks they could do. The members all think they could do your job. Captain once. He was the first club I worked for. Lovely guy. And I used to have a weekly meeting with him. And he sat there one day and said to me, I'd love to do your job. And I looked at him with a straight face and said, would you?
Yeah.
Said, well, next time I have a week's holiday, come and have a go for a week.
I think,
see what you think.
I do think during this time, I know you do get a few awkward people, but I mean, I genuinely have had, my inbox has been filled with like nice comments, nice emails, and I think the membership do appreciate how difficult now the job is, because everyone does have a different opinion, and also with the owners as well. I think they sort of appreciate the owners of the golf club a lot more, because we're profit making. Some people can, be misconstrued of where the owner's heart sort of lies. And I do think the members are because this is, literally, we could have lost the golf club. And I also think the owners as well were really appreciative of the members paying during the time we were closed. I can't go to figures, but we were just about, breaking even. We were very lucky. Our membership supported us really well. We only lost 6 members during the time.
I was going to say, you had amazing figures. You had incredible figures, because you were saying at a time where those of us running members clubs were sort of looking down the barrel of 250 members who hadn't yet renewed or resigned. They were just sitting and waiting to see what happened. You were sort of, I got to do something. I've lost 6 members.
I know.
Reading the WhatsApp group, thinking 6.
I know.
My right arm for 6.
I think because the golf club nearly closed 6 years ago, so just before the owners we've got now came in, the golf club was 5 days away from closing, and an extraordinary meeting was called. And the owners said, we've sold out to the very original landowners, and they were going to put, I think, a lorry haulage yard on the actual course, just cover it with stone and have it as that. So then one of the owners at the time, I believe he was in Spain, and he had the phone call that you've always wanted to buy this venue. Would you, we've got 5 days, can you come and help? So he sent his daughters down, and he came back, and he saved the place. I then met them 1 month after they'd taken over, about 20 days after they'd taken over. Yeah. And I was a manager at another golf club, and it was a random meeting. We played well in the tournament. I had to wait to the presentation, and decided I wasn't going to go out and celebrate. I was going to stay at the golf club and have a drink. And then I was in the main bar, and they came and sat down and started speaking to me. And then 2 weeks later, Heidi, the owner's daughter, sent me a message and said, "Would you like to come and have a chat?" So that's how I met them. So I do think the membership were very aware that they nearly lost their golf club, and they thought it was happening again. We were quite strict. With the club, I liaised very closely with the family. We're in contact constantly, and it is nice because they're very involved. There's four of them that really sort of, I can bounce ideas off. They can speak to me. We've got a really good working relationship. So our first email was quite strong, saying that if people came back, it didn't support us, when they returned, they would be fined. Well, not a fine, but a joining fee would be applied. It was quite steep. It was £500 because I was looking at it and thought, if we were closed for 3 months, our monthly fee is around £85. So if you times that by 3, it's quite a large amount of money, and I needed to make it aware. The fine needed to be more than that. So I think that did have some say in it as well. But also, as a family, the family and myself were very keen to react straight away. So as soon as Boris had done his speech, I just stayed up and I had the email out the same evening. And then when the other things were brought in and changes were made, I reacted with them very quickly. Also, we had a Facebook forum. I know these forums can be a little bit dangerous because people can get, you can't.
Yeah, you are a brave man. There's golf club managers listening to that saying you must be mental. Just so people know, Scott's got a members only Facebook group, haven't you? So you have to approve people into it. So we couldn't look it up and find it now. We wouldn't be allowed in. But once they're in, they can say what they like. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do have control over it. So I can delete, or I can send a message to someone and say that's inappropriate, and deal with it. But I started off, first of all, by doing daily casts, going out, filming the green staff, showing them what we were doing. Obviously, some of the work was a bit restricted. But I posted out to the members exactly what we were doing and why we were restricted. So, in the industry, you can have, we were getting emails from the governing bodies that perhaps weren't out in the public. I didn't put it out in the public, but I did put my version of it into the forum. And then I did email some of them out to the members. So they were very aware of what restraints we had, what we did. Then after like the first week, I thought, well, out of my own pocket, I bought a drone, and I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll go out and I'll film the green stuff cutting and float over some of the holes. We used it to reshape some of the fairways, and when we were cutting, because there were no golfers out there, I could go out and literally we could cone, and I had the opinion of the head greenkeeper and his two assistants. So we worked very much as a team. I think that's worked well, but that also meant the members were very involved. They could comment, they could give me feedback, and really just kept them all involved. And that way, I think they felt they were part of the club. Some of them said it was a tease, mind, because they were seeing the golf course in lovely condition and they couldn't touch it. And then after so many weeks, we started sort of being a little bit more to the members, like when it was different for golf course in Wales, but over here we could start to travel to do exercise. So I then allowed members to drive up, park in the car park sensibly, and we got public footpaths across the course, so they could come up and use it. And not many did, but a few that have been out on bike rides. We got a cycle path by the side of the golf course, so they just came down the driveway and just popped in to say, thank you very much for the what you're putting on the forum. I think just keeping them involved really was the main thing, and every step of the way, we made some mistakes. No one's been perfect through this. I thought we could open the golf course at one point when we couldn't, and then England Golf suddenly sent me an email saying, don't open, whatever you do.
Don't say too much on that, Scott, because we're coming to that. Trust me, I've got it. I really write 3 points down, but I want to make sure we cover that.
I do think having a family is part of the golf. I think the members originally sort of saw us, even though some of them were very thankful that the company taking over and saving the golf club. I think the longer you go, it's got into our 6th year. I think it's our 7th year just now, actually, just coming up any day. So they sort of they forget that we saved them and we've invested lots of money. Well, not me personally, but the company. And I think now it sort of brought them back a little bit, and I think they did realise, like I was talking about the money earlier, we had some work, like just as we closed, it was right in the middle of the hollow tining and the seeding and the chemicals going down for the season. So the owner puts his hand in his pocket, and he's really paid for that all himself. So I think those sort of things the members really appreciated, because we didn't just shut down. I know, some people, furloughed most of the staff, kept 1 or 2, and we actually kept a full, three of the 5 in. And then as we went through it and we realised we couldn't keep the course to the standard, we brought some of the staff back, and sort of, the owners were paying for that. And I do think the day that we opened, we'd actually decided to bring all the staff back 4 days before. We took a bit of a gamble. So I'd already had my staff in on the Sunday, expecting it to open in the week, or even if it was the week after. So when Boris said, you can open on Wednesday, I think some golf clubs were a bit like, oh no, how are we going to get it all ready? Whereas we were all ready to open. I could have opened on the Monday, because we'd taken.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that sort of network we're in, doesn't it? I think we were all. I didn't think we were going to open on the Wednesday when it happened, but we'd already put all the work in place that meant if he does bring a surprise, we can get it open by Wednesday. Now, that Sunday night and then the Monday and the Tuesday before opening on the Wednesday, I know a lot of other managers have said they were the worst days of my career. They were, it was 6 a.m. till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
For 2-3 days in a row.
Well,
once we opened, it was okay.
I set up everything for 4 balls because that is what the governance said. And then when Boris at 8 o'clock turns around and says, no, it's 2 twos, I was just like, oh no. So I pre-written the email with the owners. We'd agreed what we were going to put. And I was keen to get it out straight away, because as Boris was speaking, 5 minutes into 10 seconds into his speech, I had already receiving text messages and WhatsApp saying, yes, golf's open Wednesday. They got a bit carried away. So I was keen. We were very keen to be leading and get it open. But then that meant that I had to change all the tee bookings on our intelligent golf system back from 4 balls to 2 balls. So that meant me staying up and redoing all the rules, changing all the rules. So every night I set up 4 balls, I had to make 2 balls. So that I think I finished about 1:30 at night.
Yeah.
And then the next morning you're in, and then you find that IG's because of the
crash
was sent out, it sort of crashes. They're working very hard to get it. I've just gone over onto so we were allowing green fees on our paid for play course, and then the payment system crashes. So I go 48 hours without people being able to book visitors. So then we're getting to the point where I'm like, oh no, we've got to wait and wait for it up. But then we're in the background thinking, right, well, I need to do Excel spreadsheets for tea times, take phone calls. Luckily, I spoke to Jamie, and he, the CEO of
Jamie Abbott
of Intelligent Golf, and he actually personally phoned me. I was in the car park at Asda, and he said, I've sorted it. There's been a problem. It's not your fault. There was an error. I've sorted it now, and you're back up and live. And I went straight on my phone in the car park, sat outside, and I was straight in, and it was all working. And
yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to be Jamie Abbott at Intelligent Golf or the people from Club Systems those couple of days either, because I think we had a stressful life. Imagine what they were going through when their system started to crash and all the phone calls and complaints and everything else. Because these systems, I mean, they're robust, but they're not built for a 4,000% increase in traffic overnight.
And we use Intelligent Golf for everything. I mean, I send my emails out to the members, I book my tea times, I take the payment, the planner, everything. And I had a day where all I could click was my planner.
The biggest issue I had was I was fairly comfortable with setting it all up because we were going fairly straightforward. We weren't allowing 3s and 4s from the same house. My biggest issue was, right, we're finally ready. I'm sending the email to tell the members it's live. Book your time. So I send the email, and I'm at this time unaware of any delay. So I send the email, I click live, and I go into a GCMA Zoom. And it's only at about 9 o'clock at night when I'm sat with my laptop in front of me at home that I realise this email still hasn't landed, but the tee sheet is full from people who've just been logging on and trying to sleep.
I was lucky. So I just my email the night before.
Yeah, but if you're not one of those people, you now receive an email at 10 o'clock at night, and you go in to try and book, and it's fully booked. So my inbox the following morning wasn't the most pleasant one I've ever had, I've got to say.
No, but, I can just imagine.
What could they do about it, really? Like I say, 4,000% increase in traffic overnight.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky because the way we set our course up, I didn't actually need to. Lots of people had to redo tee times and change it all. I mean, I went with 8 minutes off my first tee, 10th tee, and Lakeside. I'd spoken to the company and the owners the week before, saying when we open, I listened to these Zoom meetings, and I'd heard that Denmark had such a massive rush in, and because we got the public course, I was very worried that you would get these people that hadn't played golf for 30 years turning up and wanting to book tee times, and my members that had been paying their money for 3 months had not been able to get on. So I restricted it to 9 holes, which meant in 2 balls I could actually have 496 people a day. And I can tell you, I let them book up 4 days in advance to start with for members and 2 days for visitors. The first 4 days were full. I then tested the water. We saw how people reacted, and I do have to say to the golfers, they were absolutely amazing. We had all the social distancing things in place, and I was panicking. All these people turning up, are they going to listen to the rules and the policies? And every single person abided by them. They basically turned up in their cars with plenty of time. They put their shoes on their clubs, left them by the car. They came down to our check-in area, stood in the queue. There wasn't really a queue there because people were turning up at the right times. then they went and stood by their cars, and I'm sat in my office and I'm looking out the window and I'm just looking at them all stood by their cars waiting for their tea time to walk to the tea. And I just have to say, I was absolutely amazed at how good they were, because golfers sometimes can get a bit of a bad reputation for doing what they want, but they really did.
Is it continued like
yeah,
that?
I have been very lucky. I can say now, I know some managers have said their members haven't. I can tell you now, after 4 days, I said, right, we'll go to 18 and 9, and then as soon as we could go 4 balls, I let them do it straight away. So Monday morning, I went to. I emailed out last Thursday when we were told we could do 4s, and I said, you can edit your tee times and you can move to 4 balls. That way, I'd like you to do this because it would actually free up times for other members to play that perhaps couldn't get on the times. Lots of them did it. I mean, some people still want to play on their own and social distance. I did warn the members saying we're going to have 3s, 4s, 1s, mixed in. So, be patient. And to be fair, I did think 4 balls might cause me a problem with people queuing and that, but no, it hasn't. They've all abided by the rules, and even with our takeaway service, they are all doing it. They're not milling around. I haven't had to write to anyone. I haven't had to go in the clubhouse and tell anyone. Some of that is down to the pro shop staff. So what I've done there is the pro shop has moved down into the front entrance of reception of the bar, and basically you walk through the door. It's one person in. You've got reception, and literally straight to your right and straight ahead, you've got the takeaway service. So they can check in, move to the takeaway service, and then out another door. And then the next person comes in. And I just have to say, they've been absolutely fantastic. I've had no instances on the golf course. I've had one about slow play, but that wasn't, I've had marshals on the golf course. Being a pay and play, we had a couple when it was 2s, where people were joining up, but I then wrote out to the members and said, I've got course marshals, but I can only cover 11. I think it was 10 till 2. Could the membership help? And I had 12 volunteers straight away, and I passed them over to the head marshal, and they've done the afternoon and evening slide. It wasn't the golfers were being bad on my pay and play, but they're not what I call golfers. They're not regular golfers. So some people, it's the first time they played.
Sure.
So they didn't know really what the rules of engagement were. Even though on our policies they have to agree to it before they play. They click on ID and they've got all the policies written down. You know what people are like sometimes. They think, oh, we're out on the golf course now, we can hop on. But on the actual Brinsey course with the membership, I didn't have any of that, and they were fantastic.
That's great. I mean, you mentioned it already. I deliberately didn't want to ask you too much about it when you were in your flow there, but just rewind a little bit to when we were still closed, and certainly in the south of England and South Wales, Mendip Spring for a week or so became pretty well known. Because I came home one evening, it was a Friday, and I came home and my WhatsApp group, while I was driving home from Bristol, had exploded. But of course, driving, I haven't seen any of this. And I stood in my kitchen with my wife, and I start reading these messages, and I stand open mouthed as I discover that Mendip Spring is about to open tomorrow. So you didn't, just to make it clear, you didn't break it. No. But what was the background of that? Because people will be interested in that.
So we were open fully until Boris Johnson did his speech. We were. I started the weeks prior, like the bar closed down. Yeah. We closed the kitchen down. We cancelled groups. Our hotel closed. And then the speech came. And then England Golf issued an email out straight after Boris had spoken, and he said, and their statement quite clearly says that due to the travel restrictions, we need to close golf down. So then on the 6th of April, I think, or the Thursday, I think the 6th was the Friday, and then obviously Boris, A1 on Somerset Police Custodian and in England, they turned around and said that you could now travel as long as the distance you travelled for your exercise didn't exceed the time you spent exercising.
Yeah.
So going from the first email from England Golf, I took that people could travel and play golf as long as they weren't travelling, say, 3 hours to play an hour's around the golf. I was going to go 9 holes, and I thought that 9 holes people get round in an hour. So playing single balls or 2 balls.
Yeah.
So I tried to get clarity from it. Nobody could give me anything. Well, nobody could say I couldn't do it. Put it that way. People said, "Oh, morally you might not be able to do it." But I was looking at my members' point of view. I was getting lots of emails, and I spoke with the company, and we discussed it at length, and we decided that by 3:30, I didn't receive anything from England Golf. The PGA couldn't answer it. They said there's no reason why. In fact, some people agreed. I spoke to other managers. Some said that, well, if you do it, we'll do it. They'll follow us the next day. So I decided at 4 o'clock to send a message out to the members saying that we were opening. By email, I don't know what happened, but other managers in the WhatsApp group, I clicked it and it was coming through on my WhatsApp group. So my members had received it, but must have been dual members at other golf clubs or passed it to their friends, and it went round in a frenzy.
Well, that was my first fear, because we all think of our own clubs first of all.
Yeah.
And my sort of hands went to my head, and I thought, it's the weekend, and I'm not going to get a weekend here, because I'm going to get inundated with members of my club who are all. It only takes one of them on a WhatsApp group to get hold of that, and it goes viral, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I know this is a disaster, because they're all going to say, well, they're open, why aren't we? And oh dear me.
Having been a golf pro and coached, obviously I've been at 4 golf clubs in the area, quite big ones, and with big memberships. And having coached to a good standard and having lessons from all walks of the area, my phone was. I knew as soon as a golf club did something, a lesson would send it through to me. So I know how it sort of the grapevine works. And then managers were messaging me, ringing me. Ed Goodwin from Cirencester rang me straight away. What's going on? And I explained it. And then nobody actually could say what I was doing was wrong. But then England Golf, 23rd of March, they then sent out their next email, and through our WhatsApp group, the CEO of England Golf actually sent me sort of a message saying, no, you can't open. And then England Golf then at 4:30 sent out just the same email they sent out on the 23rd of March saying, basically, still don't open, these are the rules. They cited insurance as the reason why you shouldn't open, because if someone was to be hit by a ball or someone was to fall, your insurance wouldn't be valid. So then at 5 o'clock, I retracted my opening statement, and we remained closed.
Because you'd opened the sheet and everything, hadn't you?
Yeah, I opened sheet. I was taking bookings. I had honestly, I opened it up, and I didn't use IG. I used just a spreadsheet. And in that half an hour, I'd filled 2 days. I only let people have 2 days booking, but I'd filled the Saturday off 2 tees, and I'd filled the Sunday as well. So.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I was definitely myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that brings me on to England Golf, because I was very, they didn't really help the situation. They weren't guiding anything. There was no correspondence from them, and they, at a time of need, their club support officers, they got rid of 80% of their staff the day the shutdown happened. So I didn't have any guidance. I was trying my hardest to contact everyone. I mean, I've got the regional manager for the area as a member of my golf club for the PGA. He was ringing head office for me, trying to get an answer out of the PGA. The PGA were trying to contact other people to see, because it was a big change. It was all over the news, and it was quite a big thing. I mean, Avon on Somerset Police Constabulary, they are corporate members at our golf club. They're part of my membership, so they would have received the email that I sent out. So, nobody could really argue. I mean, you've got cyclists riding 25 miles a day, yet a guy can't get in his car, drive to a golf club, no contact with anyone, play a round of golf on his own, not touching anything, and then get in his car and drive back to his house. I couldn't understand it really, but I know that.
I still don't know what I think about the whole thing about preventing one balls, because I had thankfully we're in twos now in Wales playing, but I had two and a bit weeks of single ball golf on the course where I'm a member, and I can tell you now, you are not coming into contact with anyone when it's one balls out there on their own. You know, there was no risk. But I think thinking it through, I mean, look at Bristol. There's what, 8, 10 golf clubs, depending on what you class as Bristol. You know, Cardiff, there's 8 golf clubs in and around Cardiff. If you have,
I think it's the travelling, isn't it?
8 golf clubs open and they're full all day, every day, that's a whole load more cars on the road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got no problem. All my problem was is golf was ready to open straight away because we'd already brought procedures in. So we weren't like football where they sort of. I mean, I was at the actual Liverpool Real Madrid Atletico Madrid game.
Yeah.
I was there in the crowd at the game that shouldn't have been played probably. And they didn't. There was no protocols in or anything. Whereas golf, for about 3 weeks before the lockdown, had started. Like we'd taken our rakes away, our ball washers away, our benches away. You couldn't touch the flagpole. So golf was a bit different, in my opinion, at the time. It had already brought in procedures, social distancing procedures. So you know, it was a little bit different. I just found it a little bit difficult to sort of say, you know, you can't play. You know, I understand the moral side of it, but that was it. You know, and at the end of the day, we England Golf did finally contact me, and then they and we shut it down straight away and had to wait. But I felt that we were pushing, and in my opinion, I've got to represent my members, and they wanted me to push England Golf and push the PGA and speak to people, and you know, I think everyone was very aware of my opinions and the golf club. You know, I wanted to push the boundaries and try and make things happen as quickly as possible. I don't think it hindered the game. I think it was helping the game, and you know, golf was in a very we were ready to open, if you saw what I mean. Whereas a lot of places I speak to, and they're like, oh, you know, they're looking at hand sanitizer now. I had hand sanitizer in 2 weeks before we opened. You know what I mean? They're looking at things. You know, we had it all done. Like we did a video of our pro shop. Our pro shop is already for retail because obviously we were going to open. We had it done 2 weeks before the opening. We did a nice little walk around, showed our members how it would all be, all our layouts on the floor. And then we thought we were all open. And then suddenly at 9 o'clock on the day of opening, they're like, oh no, pro shops can't open.
Oh,
so rushing with move all my stuff down into a reception. An absolute nightmare.
Yeah, you've touched on a couple of things that disappointed me in that sense, and through all of this, I mean, I concur about the furloughing of the club support staff. I know the line that we were given as to why that happened, or the clubs told us that they didn't want our help; they wanted time to digest what was going on and that sort of thing. Yeah, you know, I mentioned her in dispatches a few times, but Wales Golf have got a terrific club support person. You know, Zoe Thacker, her name. She's been doing the job a long time. She's absolutely terrific at the job, and you know, I know how busy she's been. I know how hard she was working through all of this in Wales, and I just think, you know, to me, those people are supporting the most struggling clubs in normal times.
Yeah.
You now throw a club that needed their support in normal times into the crisis that was closure, and I just find it an absolutely incredible.
Even in the opening up, I mean, I don't think people will so I don't even think members realise this, but I think the managers realise this, that the actual opening up was actually worse for a golf club than it was during the shutdown. So if you can imagine, my members were paying, and it was very thankful for them to be doing that. But we had some members of staff on furlough, and we were just breaking even. But then suddenly you're going to be opening where you need my full green team back. I need a reception area. I need all this, but I've got no extra income because I've still got members. It's the same amount of money coming in, but I've now got to have this service. I've got to have cleaners in to make sure that I'm fitting in the, you know, doing cleaning in the morning, cleaning halfway through the day, etc., etc. So there was no extra revenue. It was all the same revenue. So
Yeah.
golf clubs were actually hard to get. That is when they needed England Golf to come in before that. 2, 3 weeks. One thing that sums up England Golf for me is just the most ridiculous email I think I've ever received. When on the morning, 2 hours after opening up, England Golf sent me an email saying, "Did I want any signage for opening up? I've been open 2 hours. I've got my please social distance 2 meters signs on my floor already. I've had them up 2 weeks before." Because a buying group, not even, a buying group has beaten them to it by 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They were 3 weeks behind a buying group. But why would they be sending me an email and ringing me and offering me signage that I could print up on my laptop and laminate 2 hours after I've already opened?
Yeah, it was a funny one, wasn't it? And I think the other one
through the whole of this scenario, it sums them up. Because they could have done that 3 weeks before, but 2 weeks after you've opened, it's like turning up to someone that's had a heart attack and they've already passed away, and 2 hours later saying, "Here's the defib." It doesn't really, it's no good. I know that's bad, sort of thing to say, but it just was awful.
Well, you've been probably the most frequently wound up person on that WhatsApp group, but I think the one that you probably realise gripped me a little bit was the one that you mentioned, when we've been open a couple of days and then all of a sudden there was rumblings that we were going to get some advice on driving ranges.
Oh, wow.
And my head that night, because I just thought, hang on, we put so many man hours and so much resources into making this driving range where I work safe.
Yeah.
And put the process in place, and we've made videos, and we've spent money on signage, on PPE, on more hat and gel than you could go for a swim in, and this sort of thing. And then there was a suggestion that we're trying to get an answer from government, and I think we had the same attitude of saying, well, hold on, no one's asked you to go and get this answer. That was the thing for me.
My argument, and my owners were along this line. The one that, I did get annoyed about the shop thing, because I spent all this time getting my shop ready. It was 1 in, 1 out. I had all the signs, and then I've got to move. A golf club cannot work without reception area, because the policies they were telling us we had to do, we had to check the golfers in. We had to make sure they abided by the rules. Therefore, I need a reception area. They then tell me I can't have the usual reception area. So on that morning, it comes through. My tea time starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. I luckily have someone that was in a position that messaged me the night before saying, in the morning, you're going to receive an email at 9 o'clock saying that your reception area or pro shop cannot open. So I phoned the professional, and we got in at 7:30. And what I had to move tills, internet connection, telephone, all to a completely different area of the golf club. I had to run cables across the floor. I had to move drinks fridges. Everything that we'd done 3 weeks prior now needed to be moved in half an hour. And what I find really annoying is when you listen to Boris and the government speak, whether you agree with whether they've been good or bad or not, what they actually said was, if we don't tell you, use your common sense.
Yeah.
So what really, really annoyed me was when the governing bodies went back and said, "Oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? You haven't mentioned this." No, don't let it go. Let it go. They said use your common sense. I've done a risk assessment for my driving range. I've put signs up. I've made it every other bay. I washed the buckets in disinfectant. I've got hand sanitizer there for when people pick them up. I have a marshal going around checking them. I don't need you to come and tell me that I've got to close it now or I've got to do this. Don't get involved. The government hasn't.
Do you think though? There's a big spread, isn't there, of how golf course teams are set up. I mean, I'm lucky I've got a reasonably large team in normal times where I work, but I've worked in places where it's a really small team. And do you think that they almost have to make a policy that can cover the biggest resort right down to the smallest 9-hole pay and play? And I think that's not easy, is it?
No, I mean, I haven't got a massive team behind me really. We've got what I would call a normal sort of staffing level, and the family of the owners come and help us. If I'm short, the owner Chris, he doesn't mind going out and marshalling or having in any job really. So I do have that sort of team behind us. But what I found is they were sort of meddling in things they didn't need to meddle in. Another thing that annoyed me is every sector, every industry in the country was trying to push the boundaries and get themselves open. It doesn't matter what it was, every single sector. Whereas golf was physically trying to shut down. The government didn't shut golf down. England Golf shut golf down. And this is my big thing. England Golf weren't trying to open it. They were physically telling us they were trying to keep it shut. We're going to wait. And that was very frustrating, seeing, a garden centre open up and you can walk around, and they've pushed it. They pushed the government. They've done this. They've done that. When we were actually already doing the procedures 2 weeks before close down, that the garden centre was saying, oh, we're doing this now, so can we open? Well, golf was already doing that. And, I found it's like Saturday. I had it again this weekend. So Boris obviously does his speech and says, as of Monday, you can meet in groups of 6. So on Saturday afternoon, I was relaxing in the garden. I suddenly thought, well, what about junior group coaching? Why can't we start that back? Everyone's messaging me. I had loads of messages. I spoke to the owners. They thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I messaged the head professional, our coaching staff, and said, I'd like to. I think it's a good idea. So I did all the poster, got it all ready to go out, and I just dropped it into a group chat with the head pro and another pro who's a PJ official at the club. And he just says to me, you better wait, because we haven't had the authorization from headquarters to say it's the government's okay with 5 people meeting up and a coach. I thank him for that, because I didn't even think that I had to go and ask the PJ whether I could have 5 people meeting up on my practice ground for a lesson. And obviously the governing bodies then went and asked them at 9 o'clock on the Monday. An email came out saying you're allowed to do it. I just thought it's common sense that 5 people could meet, a coach. So sometimes it is difficult, because you try and be a leader and you try and be ahead. I wanted to be out there, first person, junior coaching, up and running. As soon as the message came out, I was bang, the email went out, and I've got 4 hours of coaching on Saturday now at the golf club. We're full. We're actually going to move to one in the week. I got the pro to go out, put down all the social distancing and take pictures. So my poster had pictures so the parents could see that their children are going to be safe, and everything. But I just found it frustrating that I had to wait till Monday for someone to say, yes, that is what Boris said. Well, I listened to the speech and I know what he said.
Yeah.
And I don't
think sometimes they seem to sort of give clarification in writing maybe a day later, sometimes the government, don't they? But because he's just given his strap lines, isn't he, really?
Yeah, it does happen with things like, people thinking about furloughing and stuff like that. The general public think it's almost like a benefit.
I think it's getting like that now because of the length of time it's gone on. I think particularly with the weather we've had, and obviously people are not spending quite as much money as maybe they normally would, because they're housebound, particularly here in Wales, where it's still pretty stringent rules. You're not spending what you would normally spend, so 80% money for a lot of people is a-okay. And some of them are on mortgage holidays maybe, so that sort of thing. So I do think there's an element of that, of almost, do I have to go back, But what I'd say as well is, I think, we both got our views on maybe how the national governing body have dealt with certain parts of this. But, it's not just in England. I've been quite a fan of a lot of the stuff that Wales Golf have done through this. But one, as a golf club manager, there's just one I can't quite let go. And Wales Golf have actually told golf clubs, you are not allowed to open your toilets.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry. I don't agree that you're authorised to tell clubs that.
no. I mean,
Find it amazing.
see, I haven't opened my toilet.
I'm
So
probably the only guy in Wales that cares. I just can't quite wrap my head around it.
that is a sore subject with my members because I haven't opened my toilet. So
what I'm saying is that's been your decision as a club, right?
yeah,
Some clubs are not set up to enable you to have toilets in a safe way.
not in mine. No. I've got my halfway house toilet, so I've got one on the actual golf course.
Right.
You can get to it from the 1st, the 9th, the 15th. It's one ladies' toilet, one men's toilet. I can clean it. I know it's done. Whereas my toilets up in the clubhouse, they're changing rooms, so it's very hard to have a safe in and out. It's in and out the same door for the men, and and the ladies. It joins straight into their changing rooms. I could put tape up, I suppose, but I'm just listening to the Zoom meetings and speaking to some of the care home owners. It's all about these points of contact. Yeah. So I'm doing everything I can at my venue to make sure there's no points of contact. So they arrive at the golf club. I've got hand sanitizer as they walk in the door, which they have to use. So I am letting them use scorecards, but that is the only area they touch. Because they come in, if they get a takeaway coffee, they touch the cup, but it's contactless payment. If they're paying a green fee, they pay before they arrive. If it's a member's guest, there might be a contactless payment, but the only thing they physically touch is a scorecard that they're taking away. But they've used hand sanitizer right before they pick it up. If they need the toilet on the golf course, I have that one area. So my cleaner comes in, she does wipe all around the clubhouse and where people might queue. Well, not queue because there isn't any queues, but they might accidentally touch like a table. So she wipes all that down. She does that twice a day. And then she comes in and she cleans the buggies halfway through the day. So sort of after their first round, and she cleans the halfway house toilets. And I think then I've controlled, I only really have touch points on the buggies, at the driving range with the baskets, and this halfway house toilet. So I only in my mind have 3 areas that are dangerous, if you see what I mean. Whereas if I open my changing rooms, I've suddenly got another. I've got 3 men's toilets. I've got 5 ladies' toilets. I've got what happens if they go and sit on a bench? You know, they're out of sight, so I can't see what they're doing.
Not every club has got the physical building layout to enable you to make a safe toilet. You know, where I work, it's absolutely perfectly set up for it to be perfectly safe, and because we've got a lobby that have got their own 2 standalone toilets in the lobby, and all the staff keep it clean all day, every day. You know, so we're in and out of it all the time, myself included. Now, not every club has got that, but the reference I gave was the instruction in Wales. Now, the club I play at, there's nowhere I don't think that the club could safely open for toilet use. So I don't think it's a problem where I actually play. But there's another club at the other side of the city that has got a lobby just like me and could very, very safely and very cheaply on the staff cost side of things provide toilets. And I just think of the average age of a lot of our memberships. And also, I always try to think on the service side of things. I am someone that invests a bit in that. I use, for example, I'm a big fan of using 59 Club for mystery shoppers and that sort of thing, and staff training. And I'm just not comfortable with the service element of, we'll sell you a bacon roll to take away, we'll sell you a cup of coffee, you can do this, come and have a game of golf, it's this much per year, but go and have a pee in a bush. I
agree with you. No, I think it is something, but it's like you said, I don't think the governing bodies with that should they shouldn't have an opinion on it. If you it sounds rude, but I think I look at my venue, and if I've deemed my driving range to be safe, it's my risk assessment. It's on my head. If my members don't abide by those rules, then I can close it. I don't think it's down to some guy sat in an office up at England Golf or, like you say, Wales Golf to tell me what I can and can't do. They're not at my venue. They don't know what my risk assessments are. They haven't seen who I've had in. You know, I use a HR company and a health and safety company, and I've liaised with them on everything. So legally, I'm safe to do this, and then I'm then told by some guy up at England Golf, "Oh no, you can't do that." Or, "Well, we're going to go and ask. We're going to go and ask." is what they say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Please wait. Oh, I'll just tell my 700 members, can you wait 2 days, please? Well, some guy up up north makes a decision for me. I've been in the game 30 years and I don't have an opinion. It drives me insane.
So, right, we're an hour in, right, and people who listen to this and watch this are waiting for this conversation. Gareth Morgan, Scott Thompson are going to discuss flexible golf membership.
Oh.
Do you want to kick off for me?
Yeah, I'll kick off because I will say they are leeches on the game. And that is the only way to, like football agents, that is what they are. They take money out of the game for themselves. They do not grow it. I don't care what England Golf say. They do not grow the game. They harm membership. I've actually had this opinion and this argument with them directly because they bombard me with memberships. I think that if you're a good golf manager and a good golf setup, you will already have your own version of what they're trying to sell you. At my golfer, we've got different packages. So we have our platinum membership, which is our full membership. I then have a gold membership, which is very slightly less, but you can't play a Saturday mornings after 1 o'clock or a Sunday morning, so off-peak sort of membership. We then have our down to our 5-day membership, which is silver, and then we have a cult membership. But taking that aside, we have a bronze membership. So our bronze membership, you pay an annual fee, a bit like you do to play more golf, but it comes into the golf club, and then we control the money of what it is per round. So we're £15 on a weekday, Saturday morning peak time £20, and then we looked at it earlier in the year and we thought, well, perhaps we could do an off-peak price as well on the weekend. So we moved it down to £15 after 1 o'clock. So that is exactly pretty much what Play More Golf are offering. So why would I want a person to join their website and pay them money to then book a green fee at my golf course? Because during this lockdown, or say the weather's bad and we have a bad winter, there's no revenue coming into the golf club. So if there was no such thing as golf club membership and there was just Play More Golf out there, I can tell you now there wouldn't be a golf club in the country after COVID-19. I don't know what your opinion is, Gareth, on it, but I don't see the need for them. There is absolutely no need for them at all. If your golf club's run properly, the other thing is, well, if you're a member of my golf club, you get something called a county card. Yeah. That then gives you a discount to play at Gareth Golf Club, Long Ashton. So I can then choose and pick. At the minute I've got a flat rate for county card, but looking at it and just off the top of my head now thinking, I could actually perhaps do an off-peak offer to county card members on maybe a Sunday afternoon. So, you come and play. But I know that person is a member of another golf club, so he's contributing to the game, not just some guy's pocket so he can have his Maserati or his, Bentley in his driveway. He's actually putting something back into the game.
Well, you asked me what I think. I probably wouldn't put a lot of it the way you have. That's why I wanted you to come on here, really, because you just put it in your own way and you say what you think. I think for me, I posted I think it was on LinkedIn, but it may have been Twitter. And I just said I've decided the title of my next blog, and it was going to be, if you must have a flexible membership system, no problem, but run it yourself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't aimed at anyone, because there are more than one company out there that look to provide these for people, some regionalised, some national, whatever, fine, And my God, did I.
They've definitely contacted you, because they contacted me.
Direct messages, comments on the status and everything else. I hadn't even written the blog yet, and I still haven't written it now. It was just a thought. I'll write a blog about this one day. And my attitude to it is similar to what you're actually saying. Is that I just think, if you identify that you think this is something that would be beneficial for your club, fine, I'm not against that. I've worked at clubs that have got it, and I've worked at clubs that will never have it. I work at one now. I can't imagine there'll ever come a day when the club I work at now will look to do that. But if you want to have one, then for the reasons that you say, I just say it in a different way. Keep the money in the club and run it yourself. And you know, if you're a tiny little golf club and maybe you're not working off golf management software or anything else, I wouldn't do it. But I understand why they would sign up. But you know, I watched one webinar with them once where it was a huge quote. Oh, for you to run this yourself, it would cost X amount per year. And I don't want to misquote the number, but it was a big number. It was more than we earn in a year. They're saying it would cost to run this in-house. And I just thought, well, that simply isn't true, because the software already exists.
Yeah,
and it's $3,000 a year. The software.
Yeah. But you don't even need to do that. I mean, I've there's a course up the road from me that I think they just got over to do a T-booking system, but they've ran T-bookings for 20-something years on a spreadsheet. And if you've got, you know, not to quote any names, but if you've got Canva, you can design a poster that you can put on Facebook, and you can do an ad. You know, costs £10. I do ads on there all the time. £15 for 10 days, and I can target my audience. You know, I put out a pic. We had a drone up whilst we were closed, and I took a picture of our 11th hole. I put it on Facebook with a little title saying, you know, never better time to join membership. Within 3 days, 10,000 people had viewed it and interacted with it.
Yeah.
Now, I've done nothing there. Now, why do I need to pay someone outside of my company? So that advert cost me £10. And I think now it's on within the time it ran, 15,000 people in my area viewed it. And I had people writing, oh, this is our next play. As soon as we open, we can play here. And, you know, why would I need to pay outside of my club a third party money? It's not like you're paying England Golf or the PGA where you know the money's going to come back into the game. You're paying someone just so we can live in a nice house and have a nice car. In my opinion, I don't know what you think. I don't know. It's a simple way of terming it, but I just don't like things where it comes out of the game. I'm a keen footballer. I've played rugby, and I like things where it's kept in the game. Do you know what I mean? If I'm paying it to England Golf, whether I agree with how they've handled all this, but they've got an elite squad. They give us money for coaching. They do put a program. They work with Golf Foundation, if you know what I mean. But why would I be giving it to a company outside of the game? Do you see what I mean? They're in the game.
When I worked with a flexible membership over at Kingsdown Golf Club in Wiltshire, we had to cap it in the end because it was too popular, and we as a club identified that we can't really have as a business model for this club any more flexible members than we've got now, because it's going to, you know, devalue a full membership, and you know, we're a members club and a membership based income stream. So we capped it. But you know, don't get me wrong, it took about 6 years to get to the point where they had too many. Fine. But you know, it's the software exists now to be able to run it around.
You can grow that market yourself if you do it properly. I mean, when we came in as a company here and we started looking at membership, when we stripped out the people, the membership database wasn't very up to date. When we stripped it down, it was about 400. We're over 800 now, in a time when England Golf has said it's declining. So we've doubled our membership in that time. We've put a lot of work into it. You know, we've done lots of things, lots of coaching. Everything's involved. Every part of the golf club, every section has been involved. So the pro shop, you know, you look at them. So it's, are we doing the right coaching? Are we driving beginners? Are we bringing juniors through? Are we looking at their parents, etc.? Then you look at the golf course. Are we setting our golf course up right? You know, are we presenting it in a way the modern golfer wants to see the golf course? Then it's like when they come in the clubhouse, are we a modern clubhouse? You know, are we interactive? Are we friendly? Are we speaking to them? So we sort of took each area and we've gradually worked on each area and made it better. And then, we had the packages in place, so they've just filled themselves, and we're not getting just an odd 1 or 2 join. We're getting a group of 8 to come in, and they're like, oh, you're the place to be now, and it's all stemmed from, I think, having the right packages in place to start with. Which, to be honest, it's not rocket science. You can just yourself go and research good golf clubs in the area. We all know Comwell Park has over 2,000 members. We all know the Kendallshire is around 1,000. The Players Club, when I was there, we had 2,000 members, 1,000 bronze members on a flexi membership. I don't know what Adrian's at now, but these golf clubs have done well. So why not look at what they're doing properly, if you know what I mean? So all those clubs have got this flexi membership, and they're running it themselves, and they have done since they opened. So I don't understand why you would want a third party in. So here we had the membership, they had the packaging, the old company had them in, but they didn't do any marketing. So they had this bronze. It's not something I've introduced. They already had it, and it was called registered. So they had different names of membership. So I basically brought in, just looking at the courses in Gloucester, and Wiltshire, this platinum, gold, silver, bronze. Mm-hmm. And then all I've done is just market it. So I've made a poster up. I mean, I looked at it like around the golf club here. When I came here, we were a golf club. We didn't advertise our membership anywhere in the golf club, nowhere. So we put posters up, pictures in the in the gents outside the clubhouse on Facebook, and then suddenly people, I don't go and sell a membership. People come to me and ask, oh, you see this flexible membership, what's that? And then we speak to the pro shop stuff. They all know that if you're playing around 25 times a year, it's worth being a bronze member. If you go over 35, then it's worth becoming a different member. So you're sort of getting people in, and I allow people to move. I mean, I don't let people, if they downgrade, they only downgrade once in 12 months, then they can't upgrade. But because someone can start on bronze and then they can upgrade up to, move up to silver, gold as they start playing more. So I don't think you need a third party. If I want to go and play Long Ashton, I've got my county card, and I phone up the pro and say, excuse me, I don't know what your fee is, it might be £20. It's a discounted green fee. So there's no advantage of me play more golf, because people think if they do that, they're a member of I don't know how many golf courses they got involved, but 10 golf courses in the area, say, or 20. Yeah. And when you become a member of a golf club, I can have a discounted round of golf pretty much at every golf club in the UK, and Scotland and Wales. Do you know what I mean? Everywhere. It might be a little bit restricted. If I'm going down to Cornwall to play Travose in the middle of the summer, there might be a restriction. My county card might not be, allowed. Yeah. But if I ring ahead, I already know that, and I just can't see why you would want to put money into an area where they're taking the money out. If Play More Golf were coming to me and then said, oh, we're going to invest in your juniors and we're going to give a percentage back in the game, I might change my opinion. But for me, I just see it.
I mean, a couple of points on what you say there. Really, I think in principle we both pretty much agree on what our preference is obviously not to impose it on anyone else. But firstly, the company that you keep referring to, I'm fairly sure they do sponsor some national. I mean, I'm sure they're involved with Wales Golf, for example. I mean, that wouldn't be free of charge. So there's an element of reinvestment there that would go.
It's not so much just the one company.
Go back into the game.
I'm picking on them a little bit, but it is just generally. I don't see why you need a third party to do something you can do yourself. And I don't think.
I mean, is that the other argument though? You can. I can. The clubs of the sort of size that we've worked at, we know, yes, they don't need a third party. Isn't it maybe the case that some of the smaller clubs don't, the ones that don't even have managers in the office or anything else? I mean, isn't it either they go with these companies or they don't have a flexible membership?
I would rather lean on the PGA and the GCMA. Those groups have got big support networks for this. I mean, in our area, the PGA, I'm going to say that because I know them a bit more than the GCMA, but the PGA have restructured now. So we don't, whereas we sort of had secretaries in our area that ran tournaments, over the last 3-4 years, they've restructured and they have someone that looks after tournaments, but they now have regional managers. and they come down and they speak to golf clubs, and they also have business relation officers, and then they also have someone at HQ, which is all involved in marketing. So they can come down and they can bring specialists down to help every single golf club, so they can give you the support, the infrastructure. I believe the GCMA are involved in this sort of thing. I think they work quite close with the PGA. They're sort of all intertwined a little bit. I mean, you do have England Golf, support officers that can come and help you. And I think golf clubs, perhaps they might not have a manager in place, but they've got a PGA professional that is involved in this. At the end of the day, he is going to have his shop on Facebook, or he is going to be involved in some kind of social marketing. There will be someone in your golf club that can do this, whether you write out to your membership and have a little subcommittee. I mean, I like doing that. I haven't got all the time in the world to keep up to date with worldwide handicapping, so I've asked my members to get 5 of them together, and if anything happens, they come and send me an email and we have a little meeting. Mm-hmm. I don't have to keep up to date with it every day. They look after it. And I think with the marketing, I think people need to use their membership and use the pro properly. I use the greenkeeper. I go and speak to the greenkeeper. I might have an idea and say, I'd like to have that there, but I don't just impose it on him. I will go and speak to him, and I will have his opinion. My opinion might not be right, but I can get an understanding. And I think with this marketing and these memberships, if you go and speak to your pros, most golf pros haven't just been a pro at one golf club. Also, they're friends with members of PGA friends at other golf clubs that might have this. So, I before I was involved in the GCMA bit, I actually had a Gloucester and Somerset PGA professionals, and we play every Wednesday and through the winter. We all talk to each other prior and after the round about what each golf club's doing. And I just think that, yes, they might not have a manager in, but I think some of the chairman might be doing it. But if he does engage with his membership and with his team that are already there, I think you can. Everyone's got Facebook. I mean, to do a Facebook ad and get it out there is not really. It doesn't need to be whizzy. It just needs to have on it what you're doing and where you are. And I do think that you can do it yourself, and there's no need for a third party. But it's sort of just. I think people get these opinions, and it's easy just to bring a third party in. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that's what people do. I do think that some clubs it's just done because it's maybe sometimes they just think, well, how on earth would we run that ourselves? And there's maybe nobody in the team that could give the sort of information you've just given. I don't think these companies are quite as detrimental to the game as you maybe say. But I think the one some clubs that outsource this stuff surprise me. I think because when you know the size of the club and the size of the teams that work in the clubs, and you think clubs of that size can and should sort of.
Yeah, it's like 2 for 1. I don't agree with 2 for 1. I've never been a believer in that, and I always think it's been detrimental to the game. Since it came around, golf had a decline. Before that, it had grown every year. I know they put it down to us doing well in the Olympics and cycling sort of starting the decline, but I do think 2 for 1 had a lot to do with it, because I have friends that were golfers when I grew up as a junior. My brother's a prime example. He's paid off of 2 handicap, got to 18, he's got a family, doesn't play, but and then he plays in a society sort of thing, and it's like, oh well, what we can do is we can get a 2 for 1 voucher, and we don't need to play the same venue all the time. We can go and play different venues, so they don't see membership as a benefit. They don't see the point in it. Whereas what I'm saying is, if you become a member of a golf club, you can have your handicap, then you're based, and you can still get a discounted round elsewhere because you use your county card. It's a problem in the game where the governing bodies sometimes fall a little bit behind. Not criticising them because they've got a lot to do, but say for instance the PGA, Rob Maxfield has been a breath of fresh air. He's come in and he's realised what's sort of happening. What has happened the 10 years previous, where it's a bit stale, is buying groups of golfers. So golf pros got together and created buying groups. They then have become almost, as big as the PGA. So, golf pros weren't going on CPD points with the PGA. They were going with the buying group. Yeah. So, I can't believe that the joint statements of golf that came out had the two buying groups' names on it. I mean,
Yeah, that's funny, that, wasn't it?
they're nothing to do with the control of the game. They've got too big for their boots. And what needs to happen is the PGA have realised this now under Rob Maxwell, and they are now pulling it all back in. And I think England Golf need to be very aware that they should be running the scheme. They should have control of it. So people like me don't have this opinion of the money going outside the game. If the money was going to England Golf, and England Golf were then saying to me, right, instead of we can help with this funding, that funding, and we'll help with this, and then I'd be quite happy to say the golf clubs that couldn't have the infrastructure, perhaps use this party, but they're within the affiliation. I think that it's important about that. I'm not a fan of this. People being able to get a handicap without being a member of a golf club.
No, I'm the same. I don't agree with it at all. No,
because the golf clubs need to survive. If we don't have members, there will be nowhere for anyone to play. I mean, it's like I have this little fancy with some greenkeepers because they always the golfer. Remember, without the golfer, you don't have the golf course. Therefore, you don't have a job. So I know the golfers can be annoying sometimes, but at the end of the day, without the golfer, you don't have anything. The golfer must respect the golf course, because if he doesn't respect the golf course, he doesn't have anywhere to play.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. In my golf club, and something Adrian Stiff at the Players Club very taught me, and Paul Barrington, they affected my career quite big, massively. But the fact is, they are working as a team. We always worked with Nick Perkins, the greenkeeper. If we wanted to put some bunkers out on the course or change it, Adrian would bring myself, Mark Brooks, Paul Barrington. We were all the professionals. Paul was the director of golf. He'd come and he'd say, right, where do we want these? And we'd be like, negotiate. Oh, we want them there. But Nick would be there, and he would say, well, this is going to cost that to do that. Suddenly I got, I realised the bunker cost about, so many £1,000 to build. It's not just a hole in the ground with some sand in it. You need to put drainage in. You need to have the right type of sand. We need to have construction. We need to change the, where the greenkeepers need to work on it in a safe environment. We can only do it this time of year because we're doing this at this time of year. And I think I learned very much in my 20s that everything was a team. And I think that even, going back to the membership thing, we need to work as a team to get it right. I don't know whether I've lost my way there, but do you know what I mean?
No, and if you don't, you'll make some big mistakes. I think. I think that's come across. There's I think it was on our WhatsApp group actually when it was shared that there was a sign, wasn't there, that had been put up somewhere and said nobody knows what I do until I don't do it. Well, there's quite a few roles within golf clubs at the moment. I certainly found it myself. You don't quite realise all the little things that people do until they're furloughed and they're not there. And then why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening?
I looked at this a little while ago. Big companies like Google and people like this, they do something where they get the managers to go down and shadow a member of staff, a lower member of staff, one day a month. And then the lower person comes up and he shadows the manager for half day or a day. And I think it gives appreciation, because perhaps some people might look at the manager and think, oh, what's he doing in his office over there? But, he might have quite a stressful thing. But then also the manager might be looking at the member of staff and going in and making a judgment. For instance, I could go in and my pro could be just sat there chatting with a member. But what I haven't seen is 10 minutes before he had a queue of 4 people in there. Someone's come in and asked for membership. Someone wants to enter the eclectic. Somebody said, "Oh, quick! Can I cut this grip off?" Oh, and here's a lost item head cover on the course. I haven't seen that, so I think there is some scope in people learning other jobs. I mean, I've been lucky enough. When I ran a different business, I had 2 years out of golf, and it was a pub and a restaurant, and it was completely different. And coming in here, we've had a couple of problems, like when staff leave and you've got to muck in and that. And I have been in the kitchen. I do see the chef, and I think, blimey, I've been cramming the golf group in with some members, and then I think, oh wow, this little party coming in this evening, I'll have that group in there. And I'm thinking of it like that. And the poor chef has been in there. done bacon rolls and breakfast and stuff for the hotel guests and the members. Then at lunchtime, he does his lunchtime crowding. But I thought, well, I could get there's a half an hour slot. I've got 16 guys for bacon rolls. That's not hard for him to do. So then suddenly he's cooking 60 bacon rolls when he's trying to get out his lunchtime stuff. And then half an hour later, I've got a Probus meal where I've done a menu I've agreed a menu that's not on the, I've agreed a separate menu that's not something that he would normally cook. And suddenly I look at it, I think, oh God, I've made his life a misery. And I do think over the last 18 months, I've got more appreciation. I understand how staggering things help, and because I've been in the kitchen, I've had to go in and help. I've had to go back to the bread. I've had to do this, and I do think job sharing and like going out, especially during this COVID thing. I mean, I hadn't been on a drinking machine for 8 years, and I went out and I cut the semi-rough. Members thought it was funny, and just going out and seeing what they do and spending time with them and seeing what different areas do, it gives you more appreciation. And I think within a golf club, I would say that, especially members clubs, perhaps where the chairman might be in a different industry and he comes into our industry, and then he tells you something you've got to do, or he might be a very successful businessman, but golf is a very strange industry. And I do think that if chairman went and actually spent a day with the green staff and see what they actually do, or spent a day with the pro and actually see what it's like when you've got all the phone calls coming in. I mean, with the COVID-19, we've moved over to green fees. You can only book a green fee if you're online. I control it with the rules behind the scenes. And it's made their life so much better because the phone, honestly, sometimes rings and you cannot. You put it down and it's up. Put it down, but it's up.
Yeah.
So you can not do anything for 30 minutes. All you've done is answer the phone. Whereas now, I've taken that away. It's a bit, it frees up their time, and they, when they're talking to a member, they don't need to be, oh, hold on a second. And I think then the members appreciate it because they think, oh, that member of staff is actually listening to what I'm saying. If you know what I mean. So
there will definitely be things like that when we come out of all of this. I think that will be lessons for the good, for certain. And I think that the online stuff will be one. But I think each club will be different of the things that their members like. From the things that I've seen some stuff on Twitter about clubs that are talking about not going away from 2 balls now, or there was a couple of clubs that are staying 2 ball only at certain times of the week now because the members have said they really like the pace of play.
Yeah,
so there will be some good come out of all of this, definitely. But it's just making sure. I think it's just making sure that you ask the entire membership at good intervals. What the things that they maybe want to keep and what are the things they want to go back to how they were, rather than just listen to one.
We have a members forum. We don't have an AGM anymore, but we have a forum, so it's a similar sort of thing. I do it twice a year. I do ask questions to be handed to me at least by the time the day before. So I open up and say one day before, only because I like to produce like a PowerPoint display for them. So if they've asked me a question about the course, I can actually get a picture and show them what it was like before or after. And then I open the floor up to questions. I know it can be quite, you might think, oh, you're a bit stupid doing that. But I mean, I like to get them. I think getting people involved in it is good. I know you can have too many chefs and that, but I do think I want my members to have their opinions valued. And to be honest, as a company, we do run it a little bit like that. So I might have an idea, but I won't just run with it. I'll go and speak to the owners first. And the owners are the same with me. They'll come and speak to me. And we do work as a team very much in every single item. I mean, at the minute, we're looking at the clubhouse and we're looking at all different scenarios of how it could open. Even down to the menus. We're looking at, nothing's left to chance. We're looking at even the selections on the menus, because if it comes in and people can only sit at the table for a certain amount of time, I have something on the menu that takes 25 minutes to cook. So not saying I want to do fast food, but I'm just making sure, I'd rather burgers, steaks, grilled things. So I'm looking at different types of chicken, Cajun chicken breast, different ways of making them, cooking them and things. But that's the sort of thing that's going in, because then I can turn the tables over. Because what I don't want to do is have, say my capacity in my clubhouse is only 30. If I've got 120 golfers playing on a Saturday morning, I don't want to say, well, you can come in and you can't because they're still eating. what I'd like to do is the golfers are coming in every 10 minutes, say. I want a meal and a drink and let them, there might be a little bit of a wait, but I want to give everyone the chance to come in. So we as a company are actually looking at that, and I know my owners, they're very good cooks, so they are actually looking at it. And when the chef comes back, we've said next week, once we've got an idea of what we want to sort of say to him, we'll get him in or her in and just say, this is what we're thinking. Can you do this in this time? I think people think sometimes you make a knee-jerk reaction when sometimes you might have spent days researching.
Yeah,
and
I think that's been apparent for a lot of us. I think a lot of people just assume that you've just thought of this off the top of your head, and that can be frustrating sometimes, because quite often you've spent days on this and then you announce it. You've researched it, you've found out what other people are doing, you've costed things out, you've walked it through. I said in the Zoom meeting that you and I were in this morning, go and lay your clubhouse out now as you think it'll be when you're eventually allowed to open bars, because when we did it, it's the best thing we did, because it opened our eyes to the reality that if this 2 meter distance thing continues, just what a challenge we've got ahead to maintain that 2 meter distance.
We have table toppers on our table, so I'm going to use our function room, which is normal tables of 10, and I was thinking, well, you put 4 around them. But then I'm thinking about the waitresses walking between. So what I'm actually going to do is take the toppers off the tables. It makes the table slightly smaller, but it means then I've got the passageway to walk through. And I've got some yellow and black tape, and I will mark where they were. So when people are sat, they need to be outside of this zone, because that is where the waitresses will have to walk. I've already spoken to a member who actually nicely came and spoke to me about an app where people can pre-order. So I could have someone on the 17th, they can go on the app, order their food and pay for it. And then we'll, when they come to the car, so I can see they're sat outside, the food comes out. Do you know what I mean? So there's all sorts of things like that. But we're already thinking about that. And one thing that did sort of annoy me during the meeting, the particular members, I mean, they suddenly go, oh, well, this golf club's doing that golf club's doing that. Well, yeah, that golf club's already told me this. I already knew this like 5 days ago. So, you're telling me now, do you not think I'm doing my job properly? And then certain golf clubs turned around and said, oh, we're doing this. And it looked like a nice little present here. But then down the road, they told me, well, this is going to happen because I've done that. So, certain people are then messaging me going, whoa, look at what they're doing. And I've got to bite my tongue and, oh, yeah, that's very nice. But I already know what's coming down the road. And then suddenly, it wasn't actually so good in the first place, if you know what I mean. So I do think people forget that, I wouldn't tell a car salesman how to sell a car, or, a tyre salesman how to do his tyres. But they do want to come in and tell me how to do my job when I've been in the industry 30 years. And, I've been a pro 27 years. 22 years. So, I do value their opinion. But sometimes, you need to think, I've done it for a reason, or like, for instance, you've done it for a reason.
Yeah, I picked up some good ideas from members lots of the time. I mean, probably happens every week. Whether it's big or small or whatever. It's just, I think that's the only thing maybe that can maybe get frustrating sometimes is almost the assumption that comes across that you don't really give much thought to what you do or anything.
When they write in and they actually write their letter, I thought you would have thought about this. They're opening line. Then straight away, I'm already annoyed because I think, what do you think I've done? I haven't just made this decision. I've probably spoken to, I've definitely spoken to my owners. I've probably definitely spoken to the captain. We don't have a chairman. The captain does that sort of role. My management committee. If it's a big one, I might have spoken to other managers, other golf pros, got opinions on the decision I've made. I always think, I have an opinion, but it might not be the right opinion. I'd rather share my opinion and just get an idea of someone else's and then weigh it up, like the pros and cons of each decision. I might do that before sometimes emails go out and I might have spent an hour, it might only be, I don't know, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs long, and I would have sat here for over an hour rewriting it. I think if I send an email out where I've been frustrated, like I have done this year when I had an incident during the COVID-19, I did get annoyed and it wasn't worded very well. I did put capital letters, exclamation marks, and underline quite a couple of points on it. And members did say, well, that wasn't like your normal sort of email, because so I have done that email, but then I think they realised that I was annoyed, and then I did get an inbox full of, don't worry, you are doing a good job sort of thing. Most emails I have spent a lot of time over exactly how it's worded, and sometimes nearly every time I would send it to my owner before I send it. Do you think this is right? Or I might even send it to the head professional and the other sort of PGA representative I have at the golf club, and they might say, no, don't word it like that, do this, or, oh, you're being a bit nice there, you need to be a bit, that's quite an important thing, so make it be firmer. So, yeah, I don't think, I think it's important to work generally just as a team, I think, really. Opinions.
Final question for you, Scott. Do you sleep?
No, no. I know. I mean, yeah, I live and breathe golf. I have done since I was 10 years old.
Your sort of energy's infectious, I've found. But I just sometimes, for example, we're recording this of an evening, and you're still sat in the same office that I was on a Zoom at 9 o'clock this morning with you.
Yeah, and I did tell you this morning.
Are you one of these guys that's working mad long hours as well?
Yeah, I mean, this morning I was actually in Booker's at 10 to 8 because I did notice that we'd run out of some coffee cups. I didn't want to not run out, but I was running low. I didn't run out the weekend. So before that Zoom meeting this morning, I had actually got up and gone to Booker's beforehand for the company and got them, and I'm still here now. I don't know, I just think it's my passion. I would always think I want to do my best for the golf club. And if anyone knows, my girlfriend and that, they do understand that golf is sort of my life. I'm going to be teeing off tomorrow with the members. I think it's important to play the members, so I've got a tee time at 7 a.m. So I will be here. I have a member of staff that's come back from furlough at 12 o'clock. She does her first shift, and I want to be here to meet and greet her. I want to go through the policies. I'm not going to let another member of staff do it. I'm going to do it myself. So I get my round of golf in beforehand, and then tomorrow, once I've done that, I will not be coming back to the golf club, and I will have the afternoon and evening off. And then you'll probably find me at the golf club sometime at Sunday, because different members play at different times, so I will just pop in for an hour when I'm driving past and, turn up in my, don't tell my old golf club Western this or your golf club. I'd probably turn up in my hoodie and my jeans, and I will just chat to the members that are around, just make sure they like everything that's going on the golf course, and then, that's ready for Monday, and I might do some on my laptop Sunday night. I don't know, just that's how it is. I mean, I've always done, before I would be teaching and playing, and, I love every aspect of the game, really, and I would say I'm a student. I would like to learn.
That comes across when I talk to you. I would just, I don't know, if there's anything I can pass on to you, just be careful that doesn't become your life 52 weeks a year for years and years, because anyone that saw episode number 1 of this podcast or listened to it, with Simon Smith there, I mean, that's what it can lead to over a prolonged period of time.
Yeah,
there are lots of similarities. I did have similarities with you and Simon, the way you approach things, and you got a bit of a perfectionist about you, and you want to, like you say, you want to pop in on a Sunday to see people and that sort of thing. Just talking to you, I thought, my God, I wonder how much sleep this guy gets.
Yeah, probably talking too much. Yeah, no, I do make sure I'm there, but I do like to, with, I've always been when I was coaching. I've had times when I've been in bed at 10:30 at night, and a lesson has texted me to tell me he's been down the driving range and he's hit 12 balls down the right, and what's going on with my golf swing? And I think, well, I do actually. Don't wait till the morning. I'll message him back and give him my opinion. But then I think that's why I sort of excelled in that area, because I think other people might not do that, and I think that's what makes me different. But then I did have a big patch of my hair fell out, and I thought, well, I do need to rein it in a little bit, because at one point I was doing 10 hours of coaching a day, and then I was starting at 9, but then I start, I'll do one at 8, I'll do one at 7, and then I get home, my last one would be 8:30, I get home at 9:30, and I think, I used to have an internet-based website where all my lessons I'd done in the daytime, I could do a voiceover and send it out to them, and it went through to their phone, so that if they were playing, they could just click it, and they had this little couple of minute tip thing. And then I used to do that, so I'd finish about 10:30 at night. And I used to do that 3 nights, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then I felt fine, but my hair fell out, and the doctor just said, yeah, your body's stressed. So then I started making sure I had, I did make sure on a Sunday, I always make sure I'm, I might pop in now, but I make sure Sunday's my day or family day.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to be raring to go on Monday morning.
100%. 100%. I agree with that. Hey, listen, far be it from me to tell you how to do things, but just if you ever want any tips for how you can make some changes, because I did it myself a couple of years ago, and I tell you the difference it makes to my life. And like you said, I am invariably. It's been a bit different lately because our hours have been bonkers, haven't they? But invariably, I'm raring to go every Monday morning, and hit it with some energy again. I do feel I've hit a wall a bit lately, I must be honest. But if you ever get to that point, give me a shout. Failing that, get on to Simon Smith, because he could write a book about it.
I bet he could, yeah.
Scott, it's been an hour and 40. It's been a pleasure. It's been every bit as frank as I expected you to be. So thanks for that. Thanks for not holding back and giving us your views. But like I say, your energy is infectious, and I'm sure there's a lot for people to learn from the things that you say. So thanks for that, and maybe we'll catch up in a future episode and see if you're still going at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I'd be happy to come on anytime. So.
No problem. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.